Hi guys, today I'm gonna talk you through Mary the First of England, and this presentation is presented by me, Anne. So, first of all, we will go through the table of contents, which included the introductions of Mary the First, her royal history, her ancestors and reign, the meaning of the Bloody Mary, and her death. So, first of all, we will understand what is Mary. We will understand about the Mary First facts checks. She was born on the 18th of February 1516 and passed away on 17 November of 1558. Mary was a precocious child. In July 1520, when scarcely 4.5 years old, she entertained a visiting French delegation with a performance on a type of harpsichord. A great part of her early education came from her mother, who consulted the Spanish humanist Jean Louis Vives for advice and commissioned him to write a treatise on the educations of the girls. By the age of 9, Mary could read and write Latin. She studied French, Spanish, music, dance, and perhaps Greek. Henry VIII doted on his daughter and boasted to the Venetian ambassador Sebastian Giustiniani that Mary never cried. Mary had a fair complexion with the pale blue eyes and red or reddish golden hair, traits that very similar to those of her parents. She was ruddy cheeked, a trait that she inherited from her father. Despite his affections for Mary, Henry was deeply disappointed that his marriage had produced no sons. By the time when Mary was 9 years old, it was apparent that Henry and Catherine would have no more children, leaving Henry without a legitimate male heir. Mary the First, also known as the Mary Tudor, but was most popular as Bloody Mary. She was the only child that survived of Henry VIII by his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Also, Mary the First appears to have spent 3 years in the Welsh marches, making regular visits to her father's court before returning permanently to the home counties around London in the mid of 1528. Mary the First was the first queen regnant, that is mean a queen that reigning in her own right rather than a queen through marriage to a king. Courageous and stubborn, her character was molded by her early years, and after Mary's death in 1558, her re-establishment of Roman Catholicism was reversed by her younger half-sister and successor, Elizabeth I. Next slide, we will talk about a royal history of Mary I. We know that Mary I was born at Greenwich Palace on the 18th of February 1516. Her life as a royal heir, a legitimate child, and eventually monarch ebbed and flowed around Greenwich. Mary was not only born at Greenwich Palace, but also baptized there in the Franciscan Observant Friars Church. Her parents, Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon, had married there 7 years earlier. Mary was married at the age of 2, but then it was not last longer. To find why she married at such a young age but not last longer, on the 5th of October 1518, the 2-year-old Mary was at Greenwich for a betrothal ceremony to Francois, Dauphin of France, who was only at 2 at the same time. The Lord Admiral of France acted as the Dauphin's proxy, placing a diamond on her finger. Mary is said to have asked, "Are you the Dauphin of France? If you are, I wish to kiss you." 2 days later, the celebrations at Greenwich include shows, a pageant in the hall, and a banquet of 216 dishes. Yet this engagement, like many of Mary's other engagements, was short-lived. It was cancelled 3 years later in the 1521. So, let's talk about her accessions and reign. On the July of 6, 1553, at the age of 15, Edward the Sixth died of a lung infection, possibly known as tuberculosis. He did not want the crown to go to Mary because he feared she would restore Catholicism and undo his and their father's reforms, so he planned to exclude her from the line of successions. On the 10th of July, 1553, Lady Chase was proclaimed queen by the Northumberland and his supporters, and on the same date, Mary's letter to the council arrived in London. By the 12th of July, Mary and her supporters had assembled a military force at the Framlingham Castle, Suffolk. Northumberland's support collapsed, and Jane was deposed on the 19th of July. She and Northumberland were imprisoned in the Tower of London. On the wave of popular support, Mary rode triumphantly into London on the 3rd August of 1553. She was accompanied her half-sister Elizabeth I and processions of over 800 nobles engagement. The coronations of Mary I as Queen of England and Ireland took place at Westminster Abbey, London, on the Sunday of the 1st October 1553. This was the first coronation of a queen regnant in England, a female ruler in her own right. The ceremony was therefore transformed. Ritual and costume were interlinked. One of Mary's first actions as a queen was to order the release of the Roman Catholic Thomas Howard, the third Duke of Norfolk, and Stephen Gardiner from imprisonment in the Tower of London, as well as her kinsman Edward Courtenay. So, why do they call Mary I as Bloody Mary? During the Mary's 5 years reign, around 280 Protestants were burned at the stake of refusing to convert to Catholicism, and a further 800 fled the country. These religious persecutions earned her notorious nickname Bloody Mary among subsequent generations. Mary Tudor's legacy was further tainted by the loss of Calais, England's last land in Europe, to the French during her reign. Mary's reputation has become defined by her religious persecutions, yet this is partly as a result of later Tudor propaganda. Mary also revived the old heresy laws to secure the religious conversations of the country. Heresy was regarded as a religious and civil offense amounting to treason. To believe in a different religion from the sovereign was an act of defiance and disloyalty. As a result, around 300 Protestant heretics were burned in 3 years. Apart from eminent Protestant clergy such as Cranmer, a former archbishop and author of the 2 Books of Common Prayer, Latimer and Ridley. These heretics were mostly poor and self-taught people. Although Mary thought herself pregnant on 2 occasions, both proved to be false alarm. As a result, she never conceived a Catholic heir, and the crown eventually passed to her Protestant half-sister Elizabeth following her death. Which means that, a devoted Roman Catholic, she attempted to restore Catholicism there, mainly through recent persuasions, but her regime's persecutions of Protestant dissenters led to hundreds of executions for heresy. So let's talk about small facts about Mary's decisions when she was reigning. Mary's decisions to marry Philip, the King of Spain, from 1556, but in 1554 it was very unpopular. The protest from the Commons prompted Mary's reply that Parliament was not accustomed to use such language to the kings of England, and that in her marriage she would choose as God inspired her. The marriage was childless. Philip spent most of it on the continent. England obtained no share in Spanish monopolies in the New World trade, and the alliance with Spain dragged England into war with France. Also, there's a small fact about during her accessions at the age of 37 at her accessions, Mary wished to marry and have children, thus leaving a Roman Catholic here to consolidate her religious reforms and removing her half-sister Elizabeth, which is a focus of protection opposition from direct successions. So, what is about her death? In the 1558, growing increasingly ill and weak, she was forced to acknowledge her Protestant half-sister Elizabeth as her legitimate heir. Mary died at St. James Palace on the 17th of November 1558. And this is the word sigh. And that's just the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening.